Welcome back to OpenLine. Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall is our guest tonight. It's Ask the Sheriff, so if you have a question, be sure to call in. 615-737-PLUS is the number to call, and I promise we will get to your questions. We have Bob on the line. Bob, thank you for being with us tonight. What's your question?
Thank you. It's a good program. It's like I was going to ask the sheriff about that prison in West Nashville. It's not being used for anything, you know, new coat of paint, different purpose. Otherwise, it's kind of like some of the government stuff, bad Halloween joke. But,
right.
you know, the government still has a lot of land they could use. So
Yep.
just wondering about that.
All right, what's the status on that?
Yeah, of course it's state property, so we don't have anything to do with it. But I can tell you, I can give you some thought on that. The old Charles Bass property, which is it was a state prison for years, was closed. It was just sold this past week. I just read this article over the weekend. So it was sold to a private company, I think, going to develop it. The other prison, if you're familiar with Nashville at all, that really gets all the attention is the old Walls, as we call it, the real state prison. It's still here and available. They use it for some museum and some, I believe, even some movies and things like that. But yeah, and it was deemed not able to house folks, gosh, 15 years ago. But I think the Charles Bass one is the one you're talking about. They just sold that, and someone's going to develop it and do something different with it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's always something.
Let me guess, luxury condos.
That's right. More people are moving into the jail or prison. Who knows?
Okay, Melanie is also on the line. Melanie, good evening. What's your question tonight?
Hi, sir. I'm an ex-officer, and I have noticed since I've moved back to the area, obviously the growth has exploded, but there's no multi-jurisdictional coming together to help monitor I-24. THP says that they're busy doing other things in different areas of the county. They've had a reduction in force. There's no officers monitoring the tractor trailers and the traffic. I quit a job at Vanderbilt because I'm afraid for my safety, also afraid of my husband's safety, going back and forth every day. There is absolutely no officers on the road. Any ideas that you guys have? I know you meet with Rutherford County, but if we could have a multi-jurisdictional blitz a couple of times, that would be fabulous to get people to slow down.
Right.
Melanie, thank you for your call.
Yeah, you know, it's funny about that. I was just driving to get here. I came from my son's baseball game, and it was funny. I saw a Metro police officer on the interstate, literally. I don't know if he was running radar or not, but it was unusual, I'll be honest. That's an interstate that's typically the highway patrol. The sheriff's office, and I just want to be full disclosure here, we do not do traffic at all, but I think it's a fair question. I do drive every day, and I have a lot of interest with my kids on the street, and I see what you're saying. I mean, what's ironic is the biggest problem you hear around Nashville is the complaint of the traffic.
Right.
It's probably less about speeding. You can't go anywhere. It's so slow, but no, I think it's fair. One thing, Melanie, I would also tell you is Nashville is unique. It's a metropolitan government, and so the highway patrol Metro police relationship has always been a little interesting, not getting along or not. I think everyone works well together, but because it's a city with a police force that we're all very familiar with some 1,800 officers, the highway patrol is very limited in what they really do in the city because it's really the highway interstate stuff. But I don't disagree with you, and again, I think again that's a Metro police more than us, but I think it's a fair question. The city is going to have to really evaluate many things. Transit is the biggest issue in facing all of us, and I'm just like you. I drive every day, and I want to be safe, and I want to be able to get here within a reasonable time, and we've got to balance all that out going forward. And I hope you know, I hope you'll stay interested in it. And if you have a real complaint, I would call the Metro Police about the cooperation issues with the Highway Patrol. All
right, Melanie, thank you for your call tonight. Reverend Fuzz is on the line. Reverend, good evening to you.
I want to compliment Sheriff Hall. I know him. He's got a great heart, and lots of his staff. I know them. Now, I got an open mind, but I got a hard question.
Okay.
Each week I get calls, or at least every month, someone is calling to say, Reverend, my son is in jail, and he's not being treated right. I just got a call a few minutes ago, and I said, well, let me call the sheriff. Okay? Now, we're talking about, here's a son who's in your jail, who's depressed, thinking about suicide, and your staff says that you got to take this medicine. I say to his mom, has he been diagnosed with mental illness? Not that she knows of. He refused to take the medicine, and he's told, well, nobody's going to come back to see you unless you take this medicine. Now, I compliment you on that the money that you're spending to train your officers, because I was saying, how are sheriff's deputies acting as mental health or psychiatric nurses? That was a big question for me. Why are we treating people who are in prison? These people are sick. It would look like that would go to a hospital. That's just my thinking, Sheriff Hall. I love you.
Right.
But it would look like that would go to a hospital. I see a lot of criminalizing of mental health.
Yeah.
Why do we put people who are sick in prison? And tell us about what you have in the jail that says that you're qualified to treat people who are mentally ill. I don't want a mechanic doing brain surgery on me.
Okay, Reverend Press,
let's...
Yeah.
I took up a lot of time.
Great question.
You.
No, that's
good,
okay.
Good.
Question,
Yeah.
but I want to get to the answer. So let's start with what this woman called him about, as her reverend. What is the procedure if right now, with the current situation in your jail, you don't have this behavioral unit, the mental health unit right now? What happens if they're threatening suicide, seem depressed? What happens?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really is the most important thing that we do. The issue really is getting the quickest or the earliest assessment of the individual, because they're literally being dropped off at the door. So what you're doing is you're trying to assess. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you have to picture this. A person has a pocket full of pills. They're not the same pills. There's no bottle with it. I'm not saying this woman's child. I'm saying that happens often. And we're trying to assess, is that legal or illegal pills? Is it something you need or you have to have or you want? So you got all that going on, and we try to do that within the first 24 hours. You're just trying to figure out who it is and what do they need. We have electronic medical records that verify what you were on the last time you were here, so we can start to verify some of that. And obviously you're trying to assess the immediate, the immediate condition of the person. 90% of the people are addicted to substances when they arrive. You're sorting through the detox and trying to balance the health of the person. So while you're getting all that under control, the individual often doesn't like it because they're very used to street life. Some of that's not healthy, and some of it is not even aware of what they need to be doing. So we're trying to get all of that under control. For example, pain medicines are not allowed in jails. We're very limited in what we do with that. People come in on pain medicine, and they don't like the fact that the medical staff here are saying...
No, that gets taken away, that a person is in a world of hurt.
It's a tough world to transition from, because you're addicted a lot of times even to that. And so, but I think Reverend Fuzz is right. It's the core of what we're trying to say. Look, you don't pay our staff enough to be mental health experts, officers. We do have mental health professionals, we have a psychiatrist, we have mental health staff there, but we don't have hundreds of them dealing with the hundreds of people that are coming in. And so you don't want your jails to become the place everybody is treated for mental illness. What we're trying to do is to say, look, let's get them in the right appropriate location, i.e. a diversion unit. But tonight, as someone's being booked, they are assessed immediately, they are referred immediately to mental health staff based on their level of need. That response is directed by the mental health. We have a psychiatrist on site. They're all heading to evaluate immediately crisis. And then we're having to house people in settings based on, a lot of times, which is the only way you can get self-reported information. How do you feel about yourself? Are you thinking harming yourself? I mean, there's no magic. We can't stick a needle in and figure that out.
Exactly.
So you're doing all of that, and what we have found is the person who's coming off of a lot of substances and doing all that, there's a lot of depression that goes into that. They're also depressed about what medications that they had, that they wanted, that they can't get back, and they call home and say, Mom, they're not giving me what I want.
Right.
And so what I've always said is, we have to trust the mental health and the physical health professionals as to what they need. Now, Reverend Fuzz or the mom, if you'll call me and say this person is not getting what they need, I will tell you whether you're right or not. Now, what I'm saying by that is I can tell you whether they're getting what is prescribed by the medical and mental health staff. And if they're not doing that, that's something I'm very interested in fixing. But more importantly, a lot of times I've found that they're not being honest exactly about what they need. They want it, but it's not what they're required to have.
There are several narratives going on.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
But I don't want to take the issue away. I want Reverend Fuzz is right on, and we don't want this place to become where mom is worried about whether they're being treated from a mental health perspective the right way. We want to make sure that we can accommodate their need. Okay,
so Reverend Fuzz, I know you're watching. Get the son's name. Call the sheriff tomorrow.
And text me again. You always
do
that. Tell me when we're messing up. I'll fix it.
He'll look into it. Okay, we got to take a break. We're getting things done here on the show today. More of your questions when we come back. Stay with us.